Have you ever felt like your life was quietly rearranging itself behind the scenes, without warning, without logic, yet with deep, undeniable purpose? As if the universe was whispering through your circumstances, guiding you towards something you can't yet see, but deeply feel. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that the psyche speaks in symbols, synchronicities, and inner disturbances, messages from the unconscious designed to awaken us. What if that anxiety you're feeling, that pull toward isolation, that sudden disconnection from people and patterns, isn't a breakdown, but a breakthrough in disguise? This isn't chaos, it's initiation. In this speech, we're diving into the 6 powerful signs that the universe is not punishing you, but preparing you. When your soul is on the edge of expansion, life speaks in quiet, radical ways. Jung taught us that every transformation begins with a descent into the unknown. But what if that descent is actually the beginning of something massive? Stay with me. You're not lost. You're being led. When the universe is preparing you for something massive, it does not begin with fireworks or grand revelations. It begins quietly, often painfully. It begins with the subtle dismantling of everything you thought you needed. That is how the process begins, by taking away. The very things you once believed were your foundation start to slip from your grasp. And it is not because you are unworthy of them, or because life is unfair. It is because the ground beneath your feet must first be cleared before something greater can be built. At first you resist, you cling, you try to glue things back together, to force old patterns to keep working, to revive relationships that have already said their silent goodbyes. But the more you hold on, the more the universe insists that you let go. It's as if life itself is trying to show you that certain chapters must end, not because they were wrong, but because they've served their purpose. It is a sacred disassembling, not a cruel punishment. What you feel as loss is actually preparation. You may not recognize it at first, because the mind is terrified of endings. But endings are not dead ends. They are thresholds. Every loss that finds you in this season of becoming is not just an empty space left behind. It is the clearing of a path you cannot yet see, but one that is waiting for your footsteps. The universe doesn't just take to harm you. It clears to rebuild. It removes, not to diminish you, but to reveal the truth you've forgotten. The truth that what you truly need cannot be taken from you. There is pain in the process. Real, deep pain. Because the attachments we form are not superficial. They become woven into our identity. So when something leaves, be it a person, a dream, a role, a belief, it feels like a piece of us is dying. And in many ways it is. The part of you that once depended on that thing, that once needed it to feel complete, is being stripped away. You are being brought to the edge of who you thought you were, so that you can finally meet who you truly are. And in that fragile, aching space between what is gone and what is coming, you may feel lost, disoriented, hollow. But that emptiness is not the end. It is the womb of your next becoming. The emptiness is sacred. The discomfort you feel is not a sign that you are off track. It is evidence that something greater is rearranging your inner and outer world. You are being reoriented toward your truth, even if you can't yet see where it leads. This loss, this unraveling, is a signal. It is the universe's way of saying, there is more for you, but you must let go of what you've outgrown. Just like a tree must shed its leaves in autumn so it can survive the winter and bloom again in spring, your soul must release its dead weight. Not everything that grows is meant to stay. Not everything that stays is meant to go with you into the next chapter. The stripping away is not random, it is intelligent, it is guided. It is part of a larger orchestration that your mind cannot comprehend, but your soul can feel. And if you sit quietly, even in the midst of your mourning, you may sense it, the soft whisper beneath the grief. the gentle nudge that reminds you that this pain has purpose, that the universe never clears space without preparing to fill it with something that resonates with who you are becoming. What is falling apart is not your life. It is the illusion of permanence. It is the myth that safety comes from what you can cling to. True safety, true grounding, comes not from what you hold, but from who you are when everything else falls away. You are learning to stand not on external certainties, but on the quiet strength of your soul. That is what this loss is teaching you. So let what is leaving, leave. Let what is breaking, break. Let the old structures collapse if they must. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Something massive is on its way. But to receive it, you must first make room for it. The universe cannot place stars into hands already full of dust. Trust the removal. Trust the silence it leaves behind. Trust that in the space where something used to be, something greater is already making its way toward you. There comes a moment, often quietly, when the life you've been living no longer fits who you're becoming. Nothing drastic has changed on the outside. Your job, your relationships, your routines, they may all look the same, but inside something stirs. A quiet unease begins to rise, a restlessness that doesn't quite have a name. You feel it in your chest, in the pit of your stomach, in the silence between your thoughts. It isn't fear, it isn't sadness, it's something deeper, a subtle but persistent knowing that something more is calling you. At first, you try to ignore it. You tell yourself to be grateful, to stay where you are, to not question what others call stability. But the feeling doesn't go away. In fact, the more you resist it, the more it grows. It follows you into conversations. It lingers in your laughter. It haunts you in the middle of the night when everything is quiet and you can finally hear yourself think. It's like an invisible hand is reaching into your soul, asking, "Is this all there is?" And you don't know how to answer, because the truth is, you don't know anymore. That restlessness is not a mistake. It is not a sign that you are broken or lost. It is a sign that your soul is waking up. The life you built may have once been perfect for you, but you have changed. Slowly over time, through pain, through growth, through moments of silent reflection, you have outgrown what once defined you. And now the shell of your former life has become too small to contain what you are becoming. This agitation is sacred. It is the early language of transformation. It is how the universe begins to stir the waters before the great shift arrives. It does not begin with clarity. It begins with discomfort. It begins with the quiet ache of misalignment. You no longer feel nourished by what once satisfied you. The conversations you once found exciting feel shallow. The places that once felt like home now feel unfamiliar. The goals you once chased now seem empty, and you don't know why. But you can feel the fracture. You can feel the hollow. You are not falling apart. You are being summoned. That uncomfortable feeling in your chest is the friction between the life you've known and the life that is trying to emerge. It is your intuition pulling you forward before your mind can understand why. You may feel torn between the familiar and the unknown, between safety and truth. But deep down, you already know that standing still will only make the ache grow louder. This is the soul's rebellion, not against life, but against limitation. It is the sacred unrest that precedes rebirth. When you feel this way, it is not time to retreat. It is time to listen, to lean in, to trust that the discomfort is not random, it is a compass. It is directing you toward the next chapter, the one you cannot yet see, but can already feel calling your name. The world may not understand your shift. They may say you've changed, and they'll be right. You have. And you're meant to. Growth is not meant to make you comfortable. It's meant to wake you up. The restlessness you feel is not confusion. It's clarity in disguise. Clarity that the old version of you has given all it could, and it's time to release it with love. You're being nudged forward because something within you is ready for more meaning, more alignment, more truth. You may not have the answers, you may not know what the future holds, but that's not what matters now. What matters is that you no longer betray the voice inside that whispers, "This is not it." You honor it. You explore it. You allow it to guide you, step by uncertain step, into a new becoming. The universe does not light up the entire path at once. It only gives you the next breadcrumb, the next pulse, the next quiet knowing, and that is enough. Do not fear the restlessness. Welcome it. Let it stretch you, stir you, unsettle you. It is your soul's way of preparing you for a life that finally fits who you really are. When the universe is preparing you for something massive, it rarely announces itself with clarity. Instead, it begins to speak in symbols, in the language of signs, patterns, and synchronicities. You'll notice something strange at first, perhaps even amusing. You'll start seeing the same number over and over again. You'll think of someone, and they'll suddenly call. A phrase from a stranger will echo a question you've been silently asking. A dream will leave you breathless, feeling more like a message than a fantasy. And slowly, you begin to realize this is not coincidence, this is communication. There is a subtle intelligence moving beneath the surface of your everyday life. And when you're being prepared for something greater, it becomes more visible. But you have to be still enough to see it. You have to listen with more than your ears. The signs come not through logic, but through resonance. They don't explain, they awaken. They stir something deep within you. Something you can't quite explain, but can't deny either. A sense that everything you're experiencing is being orchestrated, that something is guiding you, nudging you gently towards something you can't yet name. It's as if the veil thins, the boundaries between the physical and the unseen begin to dissolve. What once seemed random starts to shimmer with meaning. A line in a book falls open to the exact passage you needed. A song plays that echoes the emotion you've buried. A stranger says something in passing that feels like a divine whisper. These are not interruptions. They are alignments. Invitations to wake up. Invitations to remember. And it does feel like remembering. Not learning, but uncovering something your soul already knows. The universe is not introducing you to something foreign. It's guiding you back to the path you momentarily forgot. And it uses everything in your environment to do so. Nothing is too small, too ordinary, or too strange. The more aware you become, the more you see how perfectly everything is connected. This awareness is not something you force. It arises naturally when you begin to tune in. When your heart is cracked open enough, when your mind softens its grip on control, when your spirit is ready to move beyond mere survival and toward deeper truth. You begin to walk through life differently. You don't rush past the moment. You begin to notice the way the air feels before a decision, the gut pull that tells you something is right or wrong, the way certain places or people feel like portals rather than coincidences. This is guidance. This is alignment. This is the universe preparing you. When synchronicities multiply, it is not to entertain you. It is to affirm that you are not alone in this transformation. That as you release the old and as you step into the unknown, you are being accompanied. These signs are soul breadcrumbs, markers to reassure you that you are on the right path, even if you can't yet see the destination. They may not always make logical sense, but they make emotional sense, spiritual sense. And that is the sense that matters most during times of transition. You may try to explain it to others, but many won't understand. That's okay. These signs are not for them. They are for you. They are the way your soul converses with the universe in private, a silent contract between the infinite and the intimate. Do not ignore them. Do not dismiss them as mere chance. The more you honor them, the louder they become. And the louder they become, the more you realize you are being moved by something far greater than your plans, your fears, or your history. This is how the divine reveals itself, not through thunder or spectacle, but through the delicate thread of meaning woven into your everyday life. It doesn't shout, it whispers, and only those brave enough to listen without needing certainty will hear the message. The signs will never tell you exactly what to do. They will not hand you a map, but they will align you with a deeper knowing, a magnetic pull that draws you forward into what is meant for you. And so, if the signs are showing up again and again in ways that make your heart pause, in ways that spark a strange familiarity deep in your chest, pay attention. Not with urgency, but with reverence. Because what is coming is not random. It is prepared, and so are you. When the universe is preparing you for something massive, it doesn't just lead you forward, it also draws you inward. And one of the most powerful signs that you're on the threshold of transformation is this. The past begins to resurface, not to haunt you, but to heal you. Old wounds you thought you had buried long ago begin to rise. Emotions you've tried to silence find their voice again. Patterns you thought you'd outgrown start reappearing in strange and unexpected ways. And you might wonder, why now? You might question whether you're regressing, losing ground, slipping backward into pain you thought you'd transcended. But you're not. You're being purified. Before a soul can rise, it must be freed. And to be freed, everything that's been repressed, denied, avoided, or hidden must come to light. You cannot carry unprocessed pain into your next chapter. It will only recreate the same cycles in new forms. So the universe, in its wisdom, begins to draw these hidden fragments of you to the surface, not to punish, but to cleanse. This is not collapse. This is clearing. You may find yourself feeling emotions that don't seem to match your present reality. Sadness without a clear cause. Anger that rises seemingly out of nowhere. Grief that creeps in during moments of stillness. These feelings are echoes. Residual energy from times when you weren't ready to process the depth of what you felt. But now you are, and so the universe stirs the waters. Gently but firmly, asking you to return to those hidden rooms within yourself, the places you shut down in order to survive. And it's not just memories, it's the beliefs that grew out of those wounds, the ways you learned to protect yourself, the way you silenced your needs, the way you shrank to avoid rejection, the way you overextended to be loved, the way you pretended you were fine when you were falling apart inside. All of these survival strategies, once necessary, have become cages, and now life is asking you to let them fall away. This is the moment of sacred discomfort, a time when your external world may seem relatively still, but inside everything is shifting. Your heart is excavating truth, your body is remembering stories your mind has forgotten. You're being invited to feel fully, deeply, honestly, without bypassing, without numbing, without turning away, because only through feeling can the wound be seen, and only through being seen can it be released. You may want to run, you may want to distract yourself, you may want to stay busy, stay logical, stay in control, but healing doesn't come through avoidance, it comes through presence. The universe is not punishing you by bringing back this pain. It is loving you so fiercely that it refuses to let you carry what no longer belongs in your energetic field. You are being emptied, not because you are broken, but because you are being prepared to receive something fuller, purer, more aligned. The timing is not random. These wounds return because the version of you that is emerging has the strength to hold them, to witness them without collapsing, to offer them compassion instead of judgment. That is the power of evolution. You become strong enough to meet the very things you once feared, and not with resistance, but with tenderness. You begin to see that those wounds shaped you, but they are not you. You begin to see that pain was never the enemy. It was the signal, the guide, the part of your story asking to be embraced, not erased. And as you face this inner terrain, something miraculous happens. The charge begins to dissolve. The emotions no longer control you, they pass through you. The beliefs begin to soften. The patterns lose their grip. You begin to feel more space in your chest, more breath in your body, more clarity in your mind. This is what it means to be reborn. Not by escaping your past, but by integrating it, by taking the broken pieces and returning them to wholeness. Do not fear the return of your wounds. Welcome them like long-lost children finally coming home. You don't need to fix them. You only need to feel them, to honor their message, to let them move through and out of you. Because once they've been seen in the light of your awareness, they no longer need to run your life from the shadows. What is rising now is not meant to stay. It is rising because you are strong enough to release it. And in that release, space is made for the massive, beautiful, aligned life that is waiting to meet you. When the universe is preparing you for something massive, it doesn't just rearrange your circumstances. It shifts the people around you. You begin to notice that certain relationships no longer feel the same. Conversations that once flowed easily begin to feel forced. People you once confided in no longer feel like safe spaces. And you may find yourself wondering if you're the problem, if you're becoming distant or disconnected. But what you're actually experiencing is a realignment, a spiritual shedding, a necessary release of connections that are no longer vibrating at the frequency of your becoming. It's not because those people are bad. It's not because they didn't once serve a purpose in your life. It's because the version of you they were attached to is dissolving. And with it, so are the energetic agreements that kept you connected. As your soul expands, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your relationships mirror that shift. You begin to crave depth, authenticity, truth. You can no longer tolerate what is false, what is surface level, what is built on conditions or expectations. Your spirit begins to reject anything that does not nourish your becoming. This disconnection can feel confusing and painful. People may pull away from you, sometimes without explanation. They may misunderstand your silence, misread your solitude, misinterpret your growth as distance or arrogance. And in your heart, you may feel torn. Part of you wants to hold on, to explain yourself, to fix what is fading. But deep down, another part of you knows this separation is not a failure, it is a clearing. The universe is removing what cannot come with you into your next chapter. Example number 7. You see, the people meant for your journey will not require you to shrink. They will not demand that you remain who you were. They will grow with you, evolve with you, expand with you. But not everyone is meant to do that. Some were only meant to walk with you for a season. Their presence taught you something essential. They reflected something you needed to see. They were a necessary part of your soul's curriculum. And now that chapter is complete. Letting go of these relationships does not mean abandoning love. It means honoring truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is release someone with grace. To stop asking them to meet you where they can no longer reach. To allow the bond to dissolve naturally, without resentment, without blame. Growth is not betrayal. Alignment is not rejection. You are not walking away, you are walking toward who you are meant to become. And then, as the space begins to open, something even more powerful begins to happen. New souls start appearing. People who resonate with your truth. People who meet you not through history or familiarity but through energy, through presence. These connections often feel instant, magnetic, deeply safe. You'll recognize them not with your mind but with your body. Your nervous system will feel calm around them. Your heart will feel seen. Your soul will feel mirrored, These are the ones the universe has been preparing you for, but you could not receive them while you were still entangled with the past. There is a divine timing to these arrivals. They do not come when you're desperate for connection. They come when you've made peace with solitude, when you've stopped chasing people and started choosing yourself, when your energy is no longer defined by needing others, but by being fully rooted in your own essence. That's when you become a magnet for the right ones. Not just people who like you, but people who recognize you, people who remind you of who you are simply by being themselves. This shift in relationships is one of the clearest signs that something massive is unfolding. Because the universe is always intentional with its placements. It will not place you among those who cannot understand your vision. It will not allow you to keep company with those who keep you small. It will first remove what does not serve, and then it will deliver what aligns. So if you're feeling alone, if you've lost people, if the phone is quieter and the invitations are fewer, trust the silence, trust the clearing. You are not being abandoned. You are being positioned. The connections that are meant for your next chapter will find you when your energy is ready. And until then, honor the space. Sit with it. Let it teach you how to belong to yourself. Because once you belong to yourself, you will never again settle for connection that requires you to abandon your truth. There comes a moment, often quietly and without fanfare, when you feel an undeniable pull, an inner knowing that you are no longer who you used to be, and yet not quite who you are becoming. It feels like being suspended between two realities. Your old life begins to feel foreign, like clothes that no longer fit, conversations that no longer nourish, habits that no longer hold meaning. And at the same time, the new life you sense approaching hasn't fully arrived. It whispers, but it does not yet anchor. This space, though disorienting, is sacred. It is a threshold, a spiritual pause, a sign that you are being prepared for something that requires your full presence, your full surrender, your full transformation. In this space, you begin to feel a strange mixture of peace and discomfort. Peace because something within you is aligning, and discomfort because everything familiar is dissolving. It may seem like nothing is happening on the outside. The world continues as it always has. But inside, a storm of quiet change is rearranging your soul. The old narratives lose their weight. The old fears begin to feel hollow. You look around at the life you've built and feel a strange distance from it, not because you're ungrateful, but because something deep within you has outgrown it. You may start to question everything, your purpose, your path, your identity. And these questions don't always come with answers. They come with silence, with waiting, with moments where you feel invisible even to yourself. But that is part of the process. Growth is not always loud. It is often invisible. The seed breaks open in the dark soil long before the sprout reaches the surface. And so it is with you. You are breaking open, not because you are broken, but because you are being called into a fuller version of yourself. This is the part of the journey where faith is forged. Not faith in some distant ideal, but faith in your own becoming. Faith that what is falling away is not a loss, but a clearing. Faith that what is coming will not pass you by. Faith that even though you cannot see the full picture, your soul knows exactly where it's going, and the universe, in its silent intelligence, is guiding you there with perfect timing. You may feel isolated in this space, as if no one around you quite understands what you're going through. You may struggle to explain it, to put into words what is shifting inside you. That's because this is not a process of the mind. It is a process of the soul, and the soul does not speak in logic. It speaks in feeling, in resonance, in quiet knowing. Trust that. Trust the inner nudge that says, this is not the end. Trust the feeling that something deeper is unfolding, even if it doesn't look like progress from the outside. You'll begin to notice a heightened sensitivity in this space. To beauty, to pain, to the energy of places and people. Your inner compass becomes sharper. You can no longer ignore what drains you. You can no longer pretend that comfort equals truth. You feel a need to simplify, to strip away the excess, to listen more than speak. You crave authenticity like oxygen. You seek silence not to escape, but to reconnect. This is the soul preparing itself, not for survival, but for embodiment, for purpose, for the kind of life that reflects your true essence rather than your conditioned self. And as the days pass, something shifts, gently, imperceptibly. A new kind of strength begins to rise in you, a quiet courage, a steady knowing. The world may not yet see it, but you feel it. You feel the weight of your past no longer holding you down. You feel the pull of your future not as pressure, but as promise. You start to walk differently, not faster, but more deliberately. You begin to speak more truth, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for signs. You realize the sign was always you. The longing, the discomfort, the shift, the silence. All of it was evidence. All of it was preparation. So if you find yourself in that in-between space, no longer where you were, not yet where you're going, breathe. Don't rush. Don't force clarity. Just stay present. This is not stagnation. This is sacred ground. This is where you learn to trust the unfolding. This is where the old dissolves and the new gathers its strength. And when it is time, when you are ready, the path ahead will no longer feel like a mystery. It will feel like a homecoming. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore more videos just like this. Thank you.